Hi everyone, and welcome back to a fresh episode on Economy.lk. In our Front Row series, today we are featuring Dr. Jasmine Begum, who is the Director, Legal, Corporate and Government Affairs for Microsoft in the ASEAN and New Markets region. Dr. Jasmine, a pleasure to have you on the show today. If I was to put it in this way, we're talking about the digital economy. We're also seeing policy as a key enabler for many things, and it's getting into the space of digital economy. Is there a role for policy in digital economy, and how should it be really shaped from your experience in these markets?
Thank you so much for the opportunity. This is a question that I get often about the intersection between policy, law and technology. There is an urgent need for us to look at how we future-proof these policies to fit the demands of digital economy. In many instances, what we see is that we try to force-fit analog policies into the digital world. That results in haphazard execution. Based on our experience, we always recommend for a fresh look, digital policy for digital era, digital world, and not incremental. Sometimes you need to just relook to rewrite some of these policies so that you future-proof, and the outcome you want to achieve with digital economy is to be able to be more pervasive. So policies play an important role as they would enable you to leapfrog your digital economy.
Right. And as you work with all these markets, Malaysia, Indonesia, markets like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, what you see are some of the similarities in some of these markets in the digital economy space, and maybe some of the differences, maybe where some countries are going in a different trend and some of the others are not maybe following it and going in another trend?
I think that every country wants to have a significant part of its GDP to be contributed by digital economy, because it's fast moving. As we know, all new trade routes are digital, right? And if the new trade routes are digital, then there should be enabling policies. And we see that governments who want to say digital first economy, they are not even talking about digital economy, they want to drive digital first economy. And in order to drive digital first economy, some governments have put stake on the ground and say we want, like for instance, Malaysia says 20% of the GDP to contributed by GDP from the digital economy. Indonesia says 60%. I read the McKinsey report for Sri Lanka, and you are having a target of 1 to 3%. Ambitious, right? Yes, we have those ambitions, but there is also a need to quickly shift some of the legacy policies. And one inhibitor that we see is around cloud, because if you want to be in the digital first economy, one of the most important and enabling infrastructure is cloud computing, and policies need to be future-proofed to allow the use of public cloud so businesses can focus on the core business, their core business, instead of worrying about managing servers. So we see some countries like Malaysia has announced a cloud first policy. Singapore, of course, is in the front rows of this. Recently, the amendment to the law in Indonesia allows for private sector to go to public cloud. So we do see a movement, while some countries insist on doing data localization that will impede the move, the transformation to the digital economy part of it. So that's the difference that I see.
Having an outside-in kind of a view into Sri Lanka, now working more closely in Sri Lanka as well, where do you think, or what would be your key recommendations for the country to move forward in this space? Maybe the top three.
I think I have seen Sri Lanka, I have watched, and there's a huge potential. And the potential lies particularly in the IT sector. You had a booming BPO industry, which means you have an opportunity to transform that into a startup economy. How do you now make the startup economy not limited to Sri Lanka, but a startup from Sri Lanka for the world, right? It doesn't have to start. Certainly, Uber and Grab has proved that it doesn't have to start from Silicon Valley. right, of the West, Sri Lanka could be the next Silicon Valley of the East. And that is the potential that I see, especially in the era of digital economy. Skills is going to be an important discussion, and I think the emphasis has to be in skilling, reskilling, upskilling. And finally, policies that are future-proofed so that you can move agilely and quickly.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Jasmine, and I think it has been an interesting conversation where you covered the role of policy in digital economy, where certain countries maybe, for example, cloud is going in a different direction compared to the others, and ended on an optimistic note of where Sri Lanka could potentially be, I think, the Silicon Valley in East for this region. So with that, I'd like to thank her once again, and to our viewers, stay tuned for similar insightful videos like this on Economy.lk.